While democracies face threats around the world and here at home, there's new focus on the people behind the founding of America's democracy. Benjamin Franklin is the subject of the latest Ken Burns documentary. The two-part series explores how this powerful revolutionary 2 centuries ago is a key to understanding our country and the turmoil we're seeing today.
Franklin was approached by one of the city's most prominent citizens, Elizabeth Willing Powell, whose own rights had not been considered. She asked him, "Well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy?" "A republic," he answered, "if you can keep it."
A republic, if you can keep it. Which turns out to be maybe the most prophetic sentence of all. Everyone who cares about this country has to ask that question every day.
We are so pleased to welcome award-winning filmmaker Ken Burns. His 2-part documentary, Benjamin Franklin, premieres Monday and Tuesday on PBS. Ken, I, like everyone watching, love your work. You have done projects on everything from baseball to the Civil War. Why Ben Franklin?
I think he's the most interesting of our founding fathers. He's the one that offers us a portal to the moment of our founding, warts and all. It permits us to see all of the challenges that are part of that founding, as well as all of the mythological. These are really extraordinary human beings, but all of them deeply flawed. No one more so than Benjamin Franklin, but he's also, among the founding fathers, the one who's not static. George Washington doesn't change. Thomas Jefferson doesn't change, but Franklin goes from a little kid in Puritan Boston to a rich man, to the world's greatest scientist, to the world's greatest diplomat, to an editor of the Declaration and a forger of the compromises, some of them tragic, of the Constitution, the guy who gets to propose the Constitution, and then becomes the head of an abolitionist society and offers the first resolution to Congress abolishing slavery, which is, of course, ignored by the Senate and dismissed by the House, but nonetheless sets in motion an America that is going to finally have to deal with the unfinished business of our founding. And so he's mega interesting. He's also funny, right? He's our best writer of the 18th century. He's the Mark Twain a century before Mark Twain. He's very funny, and he has a relationship to us. And when you have somebody, as we were fortunate enough to have Mandy Patinkin reading The Voice. The greatest. It comes alive, and you feel this presence. And so, Faulkner is famous for saying history is not was, but is. And history doesn't repeat itself, but if you delve in honorably to the past, everything that you excavate, it's been true of every film I've worked on, speaks directly to the present moment. Our Muhammad Ali film of last fall spoke to the issues of Black Lives Matter and all of the things that are going on in the new 21st century as he was capturing the imaginations. Before that, Hemingway. Almost every film we've done has that moment, and Franklin speaks to the urgency that we find ourselves in right now.
I want to know what he would say today, because his signatures, right, were unity and compromise.
Yeah, this is it.
He founded the postal system, right? That's what linked our country together.
He is the first person who understands what it means to be an American, because as a postmaster, he's traveling, and so he doesn't just see this. If you want to mail a letter, right, from Charleston, South Carolina to Boston, it goes through London.
That's crazy.
But not anymore, right? And so he's beginning to see, and he proposes decades before the Revolution, this Albany Plan of Action, which ironically he borrowed from the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois Confederation, the idea that we can band together and solve our problems collectively without warfare. So he suggests this, and he draws a picture of a snake all cut up representing the stakes, and his slogan, "Join or Die," and everybody says, too radical. But 20 years later, when the revolution happens, what is the thing that they pick up and use? The segmented stake and join or die. And it is an amazing thing. He understood that there was going to be an American. As much as he was trying to keep Britain and the colonies together, he was a reluctant revolutionary, but he got it. And so he stitched us together.
And
so,
what would he think of today's democracy? I'm guessing he'd love social media. He'd love the internet.
He was social media. Come on. I mean, he's a printer. He's a publisher. He's a newspaper man. He's got books. He's the postmaster. He's printing the money. I mean, he's Google. He's Apple, he's Facebook, he's Twitter all at once. And what's in the almanac? These little tweets, early to bed and early to rise,
An apple a day.
3 can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead,
Okay, but do we hold we do hold our forefathers on this pedestal
it's ridiculous.
For what they've created together. But are we forgetting that they were, for the most part, similar-aged, white, male landowners? It is a lot easier for that small group to agree on a set of ideals than the giant, massive, diverse group of stakeholders we have today.
Yeah,
a group of white guys that are all 35 and all pick one bar.
They had a hard time doing that. I mean, Franklin was way older. His son was older than Jefferson and Adams and Madison. So he's that much wiser. He's the most famous American on Earth because of his scientific discoveries, mainly with regard to electricity. And he's the greatest diplomat because he's gotten the French to come in on our side, and we only win because he's there. But he has a hard time corralling all of these white landowners because the Southerners want something and the Northerners want something else, and there's beginning to be little whispers, including from Franklin, about abolition. So it's a dicey thing. But he helped to design a machine which is still going. He started a club as a young tradesman called the Junto Club. It's Latin for sort of making a joint. And he'd say, you shave a little bit off here, Walter Isaacson says in our film. You shave a little off here, and you make a joint that will last for centuries. Well, this joint has lasted for centuries, but it is frayed because of the diversity of all of these things. And the question is, can this government comprehend the whole? And right now, he'd come and say, you're having the problems that we thought we'd have. He says when he proposes the ratification of the Constitution, our enemies expect us to be cutting our own throats like we're from the Tower of Babel, but we're not. We all brought our own wisdom, but we all brought our own prejudices, and we've given up a little bit. And one of the things they compromised on was the uncompromisable human life.
It is a lot harder to compromise today, given how diverse we are, but we were divided back then.
Oh,
right?
super.
He was estranged from his own son over politics. So should we be that shocked that we're divided today?
No, I mean, I think we should be concerned and very worried, but all of these things, the Bible says it, Ecclesiastes, that's the Old Testament. It says, what has been will be again, what has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. It's not that history repeats itself, it's that human life. All the antecedents of everything that we're experiencing today have happened at some point. And let's remember, our Civil War, which we got through and over, killed 750,000 of us. And that was us at our own throats. So, we're not there yet.
I was gonna say, don't tell me that's where we are.
No, we're not there yet. And so there can be cause. The problem is that the things that we have seen bubble up to the surface, that bubble up continually in American history, like white supremacy and the ugliness of the Klan and of lynching, and thank God for yesterday's law. They've been trying to do this for decades and decades and decades and couldn't get it done. Why couldn't we get it done? In any case, we didn't have it from the highest office of the land, as we had for 4 years. Somebody spouting some of these things gave a larger and wider voice to these, the ills of Pandora's box.
Then, as a person who has deeply studied almost all parts of American history and culture, what do you think about where we are and where we're headed?
Well, I've been quite worried and quite disturbed about it. And I see what's going on now, the combination of the racial reckoning from George Floyd's brutal murder and from the pandemic and from the divisions of the politics as something that was insurmountable. But then something like Ukraine happens, a horrible, horrible event for the Ukrainians, a vicious attack by the Russians, and these wobbly, unstable, fragile Western democracies that are about to go the way of the, whatever anachronistic thing you can think of, have suddenly kind of congealed under the leadership of Joe Biden, who everyone is absolutely sure can't do anything, and has magnificently sort of, and all of a sudden you realize, oh yeah, sometimes it just flips like that. Sometimes it takes the unintended consequences from something else over there to change the dynamics of stuff.
I am constantly on the search for something optimistic. So the fact that you're ending this conversation on such a positive note, I have to end it there before it turns. Ken Burns, thank you so much. Again, Benjamin Franklin premieres next Monday and Tuesday on PBS.